Vanakkam. Hello friends. In story time at Kadambavanam, today we will see the story of KUNGULIA Nayanar. In the Chola country of Tirukadavur, into the Vediyar clan was born Kalayanar. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and every day he went to the temple and offered the holy fragrance of the Kunguliam to the Lord. This is a resin taken from the sal tree that is used in worship in temples, and it creates a very fragrant vapor. Worshipping the Amrita Lord every day with this, he spent his days happily. Lord Shiva decided to test the depth of his devotees' devotion and saw to it that he became very poor. Day by day, losing his wealth, Kalayanar kept up his worship of the Lord with the fragrant Kunguliam. He sold objects in his home and bought the resin and went to the temple and offered it to the Lord in his prayer. But at the height of poverty, once there was nothing to be had for eating in his house, and his children and all his relatives living with him were starving. Not able to tolerate this, his wife came to him and took out her thali, which is the holy object tied around the neck of every married woman in Tamil country, made of gold, and gave it to her husband, saying that he go and sell this and buy some food for the starving children. Kalayanar felt very sad at this, but not knowing what else to do, took the thali from his wife and went to buy some provisions. While he was going in the bazaar area, he heard the word Kunguliam, Kunguliam from afar and saw a man selling the resin in a basket. At once he went there and, forgetting everything else, asked the vendor, "Can you please give me some Kunguliam? But I have no money to offer you. I have only this golden thali." So saying, he gave it to the vendor, who was overjoyed and gave off the whole basket to the Nayanar and went his way. Kalayanar took the basket of Kunguliam to the temple and indulged in his favorite worship of Lord Amrita. So happy was he with his devotee's devotion that Lord Shiva called upon the Lord of Wealth, Kuberan, and asked him to go to the earth and fill this devotee's home with all his wealth. At the same time, Kalayanar's wife, who was awaiting her husband's arrival, had slept off in hunger and tiredness, and Lord Shiva appeared in her dream and said, "The wealth that you see around in your house is bestowed by my blessings," and disappeared. She awoke and found the whole house full of wealth and treasures and grains. She happily offered her prayers to the Lord and went to cook a meal. At the same time, Kalayanar, who was worshipping the Lord with the Kunguliam, had fainted out of hunger and slept off in the temple. Lord Shiva appeared in his dream as well and said, "Kalayanare, go home and have food of rice with ghee and milk and come back and worship me." Kalayanar woke up with shock and suddenly realized that he had spent all the time in the temple and forgotten about his hungry children. He ran towards his house and was astonished to see all the wealth lying there. The wife came out and welcomed Kalayanar and told him it was Lord Shiva's blessings. Overjoyed, Kalayanar thanked the Lord and from that day continued his worship. Now, while he lived happily, in the neighboring city of Tirupanandal, another incident occurred. The Shivalinga inside the Sanctum Sanctorum had become slanted due to another incident, and the Chola king was trying to bring back the linga to its original position. He had deployed all his soldiers, who had tied ropes around the linga and were pulling it in all directions to straighten it out, and they all failed. Hearing this, Kalayanar thought that he should go to the temple at Tirupanandal and try his hand as well. So thinking, he landed at the temple and went inside and saw all the king's soldiers tired from their efforts. Thinking that he should also undergo the same effort as them, he went inside and saw the thick rope that was dangling around the lingam, and he tied the other end of the rope around his neck and tried to pull the Sivalinga. Lo and behold, much to the astonishment of all the soldiers there, the linga became erect. This news reached the Chola king, who came to the temple and, appreciating the sincere devotion of Kalayanar that made such a miracle possible, prostrated himself at Kalayanar's feet. After worshipping the Lord at Tiruppanandar, Kalayanar again went back to Tirukadavur, and he was a contemporary of the great Saivite saints Thirunjana Sambandar and Thirunavukarasar, and during his lifetime had the great privilege of welcoming both these saints into his house and entertaining them. Thus he lived a full life, and he and his wife were given a status in the heavenly abode later on. Now, this is the story of Kunguliya Kalayanayanar. We will meet again with another story from Periyapuranam. Vanakkam.